The battlefield smelled of smoke and death. All around, broken ships lay scattered like giant bones. Fires lit the night sky in shades of orange and red. The twin moons hung above, pale and cold, looking down at the ruins of a once beautiful colony world. Among the wreckage walked Queen Serenia of the Cerati, her tall figure glowing faintly in the dim light. Her armor, once shining silver, was cracked and stained with blood. Her crown, a symbol of her empire, was bent and broken. Blue blood ran freely from a deep wound in her chest, leaving a trail behind her as she staggered forward. Serenia had known pain before. She had fought wars, lost soldiers, and buried friends. But this pain was different. This was not only the pain of a wound. This was the pain of betrayal. She had trusted the humans. For months, Serenia had risked everything to speak with them. She believed war could end. She had crossed battle lines under a flag of peace. She had spoken with human generals and leaders. They had nodded, smiled, and promised her peace. She had even shared her table with them, drinking wine, telling stories, believing that trust was possible. But it was a lie. On the night the treaty was to be signed, the humans struck. Their soldiers stormed her camp. Her guards fell one by one, cut down by steel and fire. Her banners burned. Her voice of peace was drowned by screams. And Serenia herself had been pierced by a spear, the cold metal driving deep into her body. Now she ran, weak but alive. Behind her came the sound of boots crunching on broken stone. Human soldiers. They were hunting her. She could hear their voices, low, cruel, certain. "Find the queen," one barked. "She doesn't leave this planet alive," another answered. Serenia pressed her back against the shattered wall of a building. Her breath was heavy. The taste of her own blood filled her mouth. For the first time in centuries, she felt true fear. But beneath the fear was rage. The Cerati queen was not only a ruler. She was more. Her people had secrets. Old secrets, buried deep in bloodlines and forbidden histories. Secrets even she had never wanted to awaken. Now she had no choice. The wall beside her cracked. Soldiers stormed in, rifles raised. Their torches lit her face, showing her pale skin, her glowing eyes, her lips pressed tight against pain. She stood tall, even as blood dripped from her chest. "She's finished," one soldier said, smiling. They moved closer. But Serenia's voice cut the air like a blade, cold, sharp, and commanding. "Do not touch me." The soldiers froze for a heartbeat. Something in her tone reached deep into them. It wasn't fear. It was instinct, a warning that came from somewhere older than memory. Her eyes narrowed. Her voice grew stronger, even as blood poured from her wound. "Humans must not touch me." They laughed nervously, thinking she was bluffing. One soldier, bold and reckless, stepped forward. He reached out, his hand brushing against her armor. The scream came instantly. The man's flesh burned where he touched her. His skin cracked, smoke rising from his body. His eyes went wide with horror as his bones glowed red, then turned to ash. He collapsed into dust at her feet. The other soldiers stumbled back in shock. What just happened?" one whispered, his voice shaking. Serenia lifted her head, her silver hair shining under the firelight. Her wound still bled, but her voice was steady. "You were warned," she said. "You betrayed me, and now you will pay." The air began to tremble. Her blood glowed brighter, like fire running through her veins. The ground shook beneath her boots. The ruins hummed with a strange, heavy sound. The humans aimed their guns, but their hands shook. "Shoot her," a soldier cried. But before they could fire, a wave of energy burst from Serenia's body, knocking them back. Her blue blood dripped on the ground, and wherever it touched, stone cracked and burned as if it were acid. The soldiers stared in horror. Her blood was not only blood, it was a weapon, a curse, a force that no human could touch without paying the ultimate price. Serenia stood tall, her shadow stretching across the flames. "You wanted war," she whispered, her voice echoing like thunder. "Now you will have it." Her command rose into the night, louder than the fires, stronger than the guns. "Humans must not touch me." And in that moment, the galaxy changed. The soldiers who survived ran into the night, stumbling over ruins, their faces pale with terror. The screams of the man who had touched the queen still echoed in their ears. They had seen him turn to ash. They had seen her blood glow like fire. Back at the human command post, the air was thick with panic. Maps were scattered, radios crackled, and officers shouted orders that no one wanted to follow. "She can't be human," one soldier whispered. "She's not," another replied. "She's worse." General Marcus Hale, the commander of the human forces on the colony world, slammed his fist against the table. His gray eyes burned with anger, but beneath that anger was fear. "You fools," he growled. "One alien queen will not break us. She is wounded. She will bleed out soon enough." But even as he spoke, he felt doubt. Reports were pouring in. Buildings cracked where her blood had touched the ground. Weapons failed when aimed too close to her. Entire squads refused to move against her. Something was wrong. Something no one had expected. Far from their camp, Queen Serenia stood alone in the ruins. Her wounds still bled, but she no longer staggered. Her strength was returning, though not in the way she remembered. Her blood glowed brighter now, running down her arm in streams of blue fire. Every drop that fell sizzled against the stone, leaving black scars on the ground. She looked at her hand, trembling. For centuries, her people had hidden the truth. The Sereti were not only warriors, not only rulers of worlds. Their royal bloodline carried something far older, something dangerous. A curse, or a gift. When she was a child, she had heard the whispers that the blood of queens could destroy those who touched it, that no human, no outsider, no enemy could lay a hand on them without being broken. But she had never believed it. She thought it was myth. Now she knew it was real, and the betrayal of the humans had awakened it. Her chest burned, but her mind was sharper than ever. She could feel the energy of the ancient blood flowing through her, binding her to the power her ancestors had locked away. She whispered into the night, her voice shaking. "You should never have betrayed me. You should never have touched me." Meanwhile, General Hale was planning his next move. He gathered his officers, his voice low and tense. "She's wounded. She's hiding. We will surround her and finish this," he said. "But, sir," one officer argued, "the men are terrified. They say she's cursed. They say her blood kills anyone who touches her." Hale's eyes narrowed. "Superstitions. She bleeds like anyone else. If she is dangerous, we'll burn her from a distance. Bring the heavy guns." But another officer leaned closer. His face was pale. "Sir, one of our scientists examined the ashes. The soldier who touched her, his body didn't just burn. His cells, they collapsed. His DNA was shredded apart, like her blood rejected him." Hale stared at him, silent for a moment. Then his jaw tightened. "Then we make sure no one touches her. We kill her with fire and steel, not hands." He didn't say aloud, but deep inside, even Marcus Hale wondered if they had made a mistake. The night grew darker. Serenia climbed a hill of broken stone, her silver hair flowing in the wind. From the top, she could see the human camp glowing with lights. Their machines hummed. Their soldiers moved like ants preparing for war. She closed her eyes. For a brief moment, she remembered the treaty table, the smiles, the promises of peace, the hope that the war would end. That vision burned away, replaced by the screams of betrayal. She opened her eyes, and they glowed brighter than before. The queen raised her arm, blue blood dripping down her fingers. The ground beneath her feet shuddered. A low hum filled the air, as if the earth itself recognized her power. She spoke, her voice steady and cold. "If humans will not respect peace, then they will respect fear." Lightning cracked in the distance. The ruins shook. Her blood was no longer just inside her. It was calling to something beneath the surface of the world. Something ancient. Something waiting. At the same time, in the human camp, alarms began to sound. The earth trembled. Lights flickered. Soldiers shouted in confusion. "What's happening? Is an earthquake?" "No, it's her." General Hale rushed outside, staring at the shaking ground. His lips tightened as he saw blue cracks glowing across the ruins in the distance. They spread like veins of fire, reaching toward the camp. It was not just her blood. It was the planet itself, answering her call. Hale turned to his men. Ready the artillery. If she wants war, we'll give her one. But even as he gave the order, he knew this was no ordinary war. This was something humanity had never faced before. And Queen Serenia, betrayed and bleeding, was no longer just a queen. She was the awakening of a nightmare. The night shook with thunder as the humans prepared their attack. In the camp, engines roared, metal tracks clattered, and the sound of heavy artillery rolled like distant drums. Soldiers moved nervously, loading shells, checking rifles, and whispering to each other about the queen. Some said she was a witch. Others swore she was a demon. But all agreed on one thing. She was no longer just an enemy commander. She was something far worse. General Marcus Hale stood at the center of the command post, his face hard as stone. His gray eyes never left the glowing cracks spreading across the battlefield. Blue light pulsed from the ruins like veins of fire, reaching closer to the camp every minute. He raised his voice. Enough fear, enough rumors. She bleeds like anyone else. Tonight we end this. His words were strong, but his fists were tight. Deep inside, he wasn't sure anymore. On the other side of the ruins, Queen Serenia stood tall upon a hill of broken stone. Her wound was still open, blue blood dripping freely, but instead of weakness, it gave her strength. Every drop that touched the ground sent waves of energy across the land. The ancient power of her bloodline, once locked away, now flowed without chains. She lifted her hand, and the glowing cracks in the earth widened, spreading like rivers of light. She could feel the heartbeat of the planet below her, pulsing with her own. The humans had awakened something that should have stayed buried. In the distance, she saw their machines moving. Giant cannons, tanks, troops marching in lines. They looked so small against the burning ruins, yet she knew their weapons carried fire strong enough to level cities. For a moment, she remembered their faces at the treaty table, the smiles, the promises of peace. She had believed in them. She had believed that humans could change. Now those same hands carried fire meant to burn her alive. Her voice was soft, but it carried across the ruins like wind. You betrayed me once. You will not do so again. The first shot came from the human artillery. The sky lit up with fire as a shell screamed through the night. It struck the hill where Serenia stood, exploding in a storm of heat and smoke. The ground shook. Stone shattered. Soldiers cheered. Direct hit. But as the smoke cleared, their cheers died. The queen still stood. Her armor cracked. Her body burned, yet her eyes glowed brighter. The fire had touched her, but her blood had shielded her. The blue light pulsed, stronger than ever, wrapping around her like a storm. General Hale cursed under his breath. Again, don't stop firing. Shell after shell rained down. The ruins exploded with flames. Dust and smoke covered everything. The earth roared. But each strike only awakened more of her power. From the dust, she emerged like a figure of legend, her silver hair whipped in the wind, her armor glowing with blue cracks of light. Her wound no longer looked like weakness. It looked like fire trying to escape. The ground split open around her, and blue energy surged outward. Soldiers screamed as the earth broke beneath their feet. Tanks sank into glowing cracks. Metal twisted, guns melted, and men fell to their knees, clutching their heads as a strange energy tore through their bodies. Serenia raised her arms, and the air hummed like thunder. You wanted fire? She called. Then burn with me. Lightning struck from the glowing cracks, ripping through the human lines. Whole squads vanished in bursts of blue flame. Machines that once carried death now turned into burning graves. The battlefield became chaos. Back at the command post, Hale watched in disbelief. His artillery had done nothing. His army was breaking. His soldiers were no longer fighting. They were running. One officer grabbed his arm. General, we have to retreat. She's not something we can fight. Hale shook him off, his voice low with fury. We don't retreat. Humanity does not run. But even as he spoke, his heart trembled. He had seen many enemies, but never one like her. He realized too late that this was not just war. This was judgment. Queen Serenia stood at the center of the burning ruins, her body bleeding, her spirit alive with ancient power. The humans had betrayed her, tried to kill her, unleashed fire upon her, but their fire had only awakened hers. She looked across the battlefield, her voice echoing, "This is the price of betrayal. Humans must not touch me. Humans must not harm me. And now, humans will learn fear." Her words rolled like thunder, carried by the hum of the earth itself. The night was no longer the humans' battlefield. It was hers, and the war had only just begun. The battlefield was silent now, except for the crackle of fire and the groans of wounded men. The once proud human army lay broken among the ruins. Tanks were melted. Guns lay twisted. The ground glowed faintly with blue cracks that spread like rivers of light across the land. At the center of it all stood Queen Serenia, tall and unbroken. Her silver hair flowed in the night wind. Her eyes glowed with cold fire, and her chest still bled the cursed blue blood. Every drop that touched the earth hissed and spread more cracks, as though the planet itself was alive and listening to her. She looked at the fallen soldiers around her. Many were dead, but some still crawled, their eyes wide with terror. They tried to crawl away, but her voice froze them. "Do not touch me. Do not follow me. Do not betray me again." Her words rolled like thunder, and the survivors obeyed. They dropped their weapons and fled into the shadows. Back at the human command base, panic spread like fire. Soldiers whispered in corners, their faces pale, their hands shaking. "She can't be killed. She's not a queen. She's a curse. If her blood touches the ground, everything dies." General Marcus Hale tried to silence them, but even his voice could not cut through the fear. He slammed his fist on the table, map scattering. "Stop this talk. She is just one alien. One. We outnumber her 1,000 to 1. She bleeds, she burns, she can die." But even as he shouted, he knew the truth. He had seen her walk through fire. He had seen men crumble into ash at her touch. And worst of all, he had seen his soldiers lose their will to fight. An officer leaned closer, speaking in a low, urgent tone. "General, the men are breaking. If we keep pushing, we'll lose them all. Maybe we should talk to her again." Hale's jaw tightened. "Talk? After what she's done?" The officer's voice shook. "Sir, it was we who betrayed the treaty. We struck first. Maybe she only fights because she has no choice." The general glared, but the words cut deep. Somewhere inside, he remembered the day Serenia had stood at the treaty table. She had been calm, graceful, offering peace, and he had signed her death instead. But he pushed the memory away. She is a threat. We end threats. While the humans argued, Serenia moved through the ruins. She was weak, but her power grew with each step. The earth itself seemed to carry her forward. Blue veins of light followed her path, and strange whispers filled her mind. Voices of her ancestors, the old queens of the Seridi. "Do not let them touch you. Your blood is sacred. Your enemies will drown in fear." She pressed her hand against her wound. It glowed brighter than before. The humans had awakened something that even she feared. She had not asked for this power, but now it flowed through her veins like fire, and she knew it would only grow stronger. At dawn, a new plan was set into motion. In a dark chamber of the human base, General Hale met with his closest advisors. Around them, holograms glowed. Images of weapons more dangerous than artillery, weapons that had been forbidden by their own laws. One of the scientists spoke, his voice trembling. "We have a device, General. Not fire, not bullets. A weapon of resonance. It attacks energy itself. If her blood is what makes her strong, this could stop her." Hale's eyes narrowed. "And what will it cost?" The scientist swallowed hard. "If we use it here, the land will die. The ruins, the soil, even the air, it will burn with silence. Nothing will grow again." There was silence in the room. Even the officers shifted uncomfortably. One whispered, "That colony was once ours. Millions lived here." Hale's voice was iron. "Now it is ash. If we must turn it to dust to destroy her, then so be it. Prepare the weapon. Far away, Serenia stood on a cliff, overlooking the human camp. She could see their lights, their machines, their endless movement. She knew they were not finished. Humans never stopped. Her blue blood dripped onto the stone at her feet, and the cliff cracked beneath her. The whispers in her head grew louder, telling her to strike first, to end them before they ended her. But she hesitated. In her mind, she still saw the faces of the few humans who had shown kindness during the peace talks. The young soldier who had bowed to her. The woman diplomat who had spoken with honesty. Not all humans were liars. Not all wanted betrayal. Her hands shook as she whispered into the cold morning air. Why did you betray me? Why did you force this war? The wind carried no answer, only the distant sound of human machines, preparing for their next move. And in the shadows, she felt the earth tremble, not from her blood, but from something the humans were building, something dangerous. She raised her eyes to the sky and spoke with a voice both sorrowful and furious. If you bring new weapons against me, then I will show you what true weapons are. The morning sun rose, but it gave no warmth. Smoke covered the sky, and the ruins of the colony glowed faintly with blue cracks where Serenia's blood had fallen. The land itself seemed wounded, alive with her power. In the human base, soldiers moved in silence. No cheers, no confidence, only fear. They had seen what the Queen could do. They had seen her walk through fire, shatter the ground, and burn men to ash with nothing more than her touch. But General Marcus Hale had made his choice. In the center of the camp stood a machine hidden under black covers. Its size was massive, taller than tanks, its metal glowing faintly with strange symbols. It was not a normal weapon. It was something humanity had promised never to use. The resonance cannon, a weapon built to tear apart energy itself. It was banned because it left nothing alive, not plants, not animals, not even the soil. Worlds where it had been tested became silent deserts, forever dead. Now it was being aimed at Serenia. The soldiers watched with pale faces. Many whispered among themselves, "This is wrong. We'll destroy the whole world. She only fights because we betrayed her." But none dared to say it aloud to Hale. His eyes were cold, his jaw hard. He stood before the weapon like a man staring at destiny. "She is not a queen," he said, his voice sharp. "She is a curse. If we let her live, she will destroy us all." Ready the cannon. Far away, Serenia felt the tremble in the earth. She closed her eyes, her glowing blood whispering warnings in her veins. Something was coming. Something worse than fire. Worse than betrayal. She stepped to the edge of the cliff, watching the human camp. Their machines moved like insects, preparing for something she could not yet see. But she could feel it. A silence growing, a hunger in the air. Her wound burned. Her ancestors' whispers filled her mind again. They will use forbidden fire. They will end the land itself. Strike first. Her hands tightened. Her heart ached. She did not want to kill more. She had wanted peace. But humans gave her no choice. Blue light shimmered across her body, brighter than before. She raised her arms, and the cracks in the ground widened, glowing like rivers of fire. The planet itself answered her call. At the human base, alarm sounded. The ground shook and machines fell. The air grew heavy as if the world itself resisted what they were about to do. Fire the cannon. Hale ordered. The great machine roared. Energy built inside, glowing white-hot, humming with a sound that hurt the ears. Soldiers covered their heads, their teeth rattling from the vibration. The air shimmered as the weapon gathered its deadly power. Then it fired. A beam of white energy cut across the land, brighter than the sun. It tore through the ruins, silencing the glowing cracks, burning everything in its path. Stone turned to dust. Air turned heavy. Life itself seemed to vanish where the beam touched. It struck the cliff where Serenia stood. The explosion lit the sky. Dust and smoke rose like a storm. The ground shook so hard that even the human base trembled. Soldiers gasped, staring. "She's gone," one whispered. "No one can survive that," another said. Hale's lips curved in a grim smile. "It's over." But the dust did not settle. Instead, the air glowed blue, A figure rose from the storm, her body blazing with light. Her silver hair whipped in the wind, her armor cracked, her skin burned, but her eyes shone brighter than ever. Queen Serenia was still alive. The resonance cannon had not destroyed her. It had awakened her. The forbidden weapon had struck her blood, and instead of killing her, it had forced her curse to grow stronger. Her wound now poured light, not blood. Her veins burned with raw energy. She was no longer just a queen. She was something beyond mortal or alien. Her voice shook the sky. Your weapon cannot kill me. It feeds me. The ground split wide. Blue fire burst upward, swallowing ruins, reaching for the human camp. Soldiers screamed as machines cracked and collapsed. The resonance cannon itself shook, its metal glowing red, its operators fleeing in terror. General Hale stared in horror. No, impossible. Serenia raised her arms, her power rolling like a storm across the land. Her voice was both sorrowful and furious. You betrayed peace. You betrayed me. Now you betray life itself. So life will turn against you. The earth trembled. The air burned. The world itself seemed to answer her. And for the first time, even General Hale felt fear, not defeat but extinction. The land groaned as if alive. Blue cracks spread across the soil like veins of fire, pulsing with every beat of Serenia's heart. Her glowing blood flowed freely, but instead of weakening her, it made her stronger, wilder, less human, less Serity, something beyond both. Soldiers fell back from the battlefield, their boots slipping on trembling ground. The resonance cannon, once their hope, now stood half-melted. Its barrel twisted from the force of its own unleashed power. Sparks flew as it died, useless. General Hale watched in silence. His eyes, once hard with iron certainty, now flickered with doubt. He had never feared anything in his life, not alien armies, not death itself. But what stood before him was not an army. It was not a queen. It was a storm wearing the shape of a woman. Serenia lifted her hands, and the air split with thunder. Her silver hair glowed, strands floating like fire. The wounds on her skin no longer bled. They burned, releasing rivers of blue light that carved the earth around her. She tried to speak, but her voice came like a chorus, many voices at once, hers and her ancestors. We warned them. We begged for peace. They chose betrayal. Her body shook. She had wanted only justice, but now she could feel the power inside her rising too fast, too strong. It was no longer under her full control. The ground cracked, and entire buildings in the colony's ruins fell into the glowing abyss. Flames of light burst upward, swallowing the sky in ribbons of blue fire. The storm was spreading. Inside the human camp, chaos reigned. Men screamed, trying to escape as machines toppled. Officers shouted orders that no one obeyed. The sky itself seemed to crush them with its weight. Only Hale stood still, watching Serenia through the storm. He whispered to himself, This is what we made. But instead of retreating, he walked forward, step by step, through the trembling earth, through the fear of his men. He did not stop. His boots crunched on cracked soil until he stood where the storm's edge burned the ground. Serenia! His voice cut through the chaos. The queen's glowing eyes turned to him, her power trembling, spilling in waves that melted steel and shattered stone. For a heartbeat, he thought she would strike him down like all the others. Instead, she hesitated. You, she said, her voice layered with fury and sorrow. You fired the weapon. You cursed the land. Why you still stand here? Hale's jaw tightened. He had no weapon in his hands now, only his will. Because if you kill us all, he said, you will not stop with us. You will kill everything, even your own kind, even this world. Serenia froze. His words pierced through the storm raging inside her. She looked around, saw the ruins burning not with human fire, but with her own unleashed light. She saw the earth splitting, rivers of life itself pouring out and dying in the air. She felt the planet scream inside her veins. It was true. Her power was not just killing humans. It was killing everything. No, she whispered, clutching her chest. This is not what I wanted. The storm crackled louder, as if mocking her. Her ancestors' voices roared in her head. They betrayed us. They must pay. Let the world burn. Serenia fell to her knees, clutching her head, fighting the voices, fighting herself. But the power only grew. Hale saw his chance. He stepped closer, his shadow falling across her glowing form. He did not raise his weapon. He did not give an order. He only spoke. Listen to me. You are not a curse. You are still a queen. Your people believed in you. Do not let them remember you as the destroyer of worlds. Serenia's glowing eyes flickered. For the first time since the storm began, tears glimmered on her face, mixing with the blue light. I cannot stop it, she whispered. It is too strong. Then let me help you, Hale said. His voice broke, but he did not look away. If you cannot carry it alone, then carry it with me, or with anyone who still believes in life. But do not carry it as vengeance. The storm hesitated. The cracks in the ground slowed. The flames of blue fire shrank for a heartbeat. The world seemed to hold its breath. But then another explosion ripped through the ruins. A group of soldiers, panicked, fired heavy missiles at Serenia. The weapons hit the glowing cracks, and the power inside them surged again. The storm roared back, stronger, deadlier. Serenia screamed not in anger, but in pain. Her body arched, light bursting from her wound like a flood. The entire sky turned blue. Mountains shook. Forests far beyond the battlefield caught fire without flame. The very air trembled, cracking like glass. Hale was thrown to the ground, shielding his face. His heart sank. He realized the truth. This war was no longer between humans and Serity. It was humanity versus extinction. And only one choice remained. Either Serenia found control again or the world itself would end. The world was breaking. Mountains split apart. Rivers boiled and turned into steam. The sky glowed with blue fire that did not fade. Serenia's body was a heart at all, a storm of living energy tearing the land apart. Humans and Serity alike fled in terror. Soldiers threw down their weapons. Machines melted. Cities crumbled. But in the middle of this chaos, General Hale crawled forward, refusing to run. He knew there was no safe place left. If Serenia's storm continued, it would spread across oceans, across the planet, until nothing was left alive. It was no longer about winning or losing. It was about survival of the world itself. Serenia screamed, her voice echoing the sky like thunder. Her glowing hands clawed at the earth as if trying to bury her own power. I cannot stop it, she cried, her voice breaking with despair. The storm will not listen to me anymore. Her eyes burned bright blue, but tears fell from them like rain. She looked less like a queen now, and more like a woman who had carried too much pain for too long. The voices of her ancestors still roared inside her head. They betrayed you. They deserve nothing. Burn them all. She shook her head violently, clutching her ears. No, I will not. But the storm did not listen. General Hale struggled to stand against the crushing waves of power. His uniform was torn, his body burned, but his voice rose above the roar. Serenia, he shouted, listen to me. You are stronger than them, stronger than the voices. You are not just their echo, you are their end. Her glowing eyes locked onto him. For a moment, she saw not an enemy, not a betrayer, but a man who refused to let her drown alone. Help me, she whispered. Her voice was almost lost in the storm, and Hale answered without hesitation. I will. He stepped into the storm. The blue fire seared his skin, but he pushed forward until he stood before her. The ground shook beneath his feet, but he did not fall. He reached out his hand. Take it, he said. If you cannot hold the storm, then share it with me. Her eyes widened. If you touch me, you will die. Hale's hand did not lower. His voice was steady. Then let me die trying to save the world. Better that than living in its ashes. For a heartbeat, everything was silent. Then Serenia's trembling hand reached forward, glowing, burning, dangerous. She touched his palm. The storm exploded. Blue fire raced up Hale's arm, through his chest, into his veins. He gasped as pain like molten iron filled his body. But he did not pull away. He held her hand tighter. Together they screamed. The storm writhed, fighting them, trying to escape. The voices of Serenia's ancestors grew louder, furious. He is human. He is your enemy. Kill him. But another voice rose inside her now. Not theirs. Not Hale's. Her own. No, he is not my enemy. Not anymore. Her body shook, but her will held. She pushed against the storm, and Hale pushed with her. The cracks in the earth began to close. The boiling rivers cooled. The blue fire faded into sparks. The storm screamed one last time, then shattered into light. For a moment, the whole world was bathed in brilliance, like dawn breaking after endless night. And then silence. Serenia collapsed to her knees, her glow fading, her body weak. Hale fell beside her, burned and trembling but alive. Around them, the battlefield was quiet. Soldiers from both sides stared in awe. For the first time, there was no war, no fighting, only silence. Serenia looked at Hale, her voice weak. Why did you help me? After all your people did, after all I did. Hale coughed, forcing a broken smile. Because someone had to choose peace, or there would be nothing left to fight for. Tears filled Serenia's eyes. No human had ever spoken to her like that. No human had ever given her more than betrayal. And yet, here he was, choosing her, choosing life. She closed her eyes and whispered, "Then maybe there is hope after all." The soldiers waited for orders. None came. No one raised a gun. For once, the silence was not fear, it was respect. Serenia stood, still weak, but no longer glowing. She raised her hand and looked at both armies. "This war ends now," she said. "We have spilled enough blood. We will not spill the world itself." Hale nodded, his voice firm though his body shook. "If you want a future, you will listen to her. There is no victory in ashes." And so on the broken battlefield where trust had died, something new was born. Not victory, not defeat, but survival. Humans in Serity lowered their weapons. For the first time in history, they looked at each other not as enemies, but as survivors of the same storm. And at the center of it all stood an alien queen, once betrayed and bleeding, now stronger for pain she endured, because she was not alone.